Boys, we're back. This is season 2, episode 1 of The Lonely Road. Obviously, as always, you guys don't have to watch every episode. Every episode's going to be different, and it's not like a story thing, so you guys don't have to sit there and follow through with every little thing that's talked about. So
Doesn't have to
just
go
be
in order.
aware
It
of that.
does not.
Listen to the ones that you need to. Don't listen to the ones that'll hurt you or make you feel uncomfortable. But as always, we're on the journey to heal, whether we're by ourselves and trying to make ourselves a better human or trying to make everybody else around us kind of step up to the level that they need to be. We're going to be here and we're going to help you guys through as many things as we possibly can. This is going to be a very different show, though. We're going to go on a deep dive of grief and mental health and all of that stuff in between, whether it's stats and kind of in depth trying to explore everything, or just telling stories and trying to trauma dump and kind of figure shit out so that way you guys can be in a better place too. As always, use code RMTS to check out for G Fuel, 20% off. That stuff's beautiful. How have you been, KJ? It's been a little bit.
Yeah, it has been quite the break. We needed it though. I mean, we were gonna finish off season one, with a nice wrap up about accountability, and I thought it would be wonderful. But I had a real bad scare with my dog, and let me just tell you, sometimes you don't think that they mean as much as they do, but let me just it's an integral part of the family.
It's
Um,
weird. It's weird
yeah,
how much they like kind of touch base, whether it's to your heart or your mind or like even the consistency day to day.
yeah.
I remember I remember a weird story that my mom used to tell when she went out to see you. I think you were actually coming home. And she's like, every day I woke up and was like, "Do you guys need cereal? Do you guys want breakfast? You guys want coffee?" And I'm like, "Fuck."
Yeah, she did.
Those little consistency things just like kind of pull on your heartstrings a little bit to kind of like fuck up your day almost, and it's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, yeah, for sure. No, so we took a little sabbatical. Decided to end season one early, a short season, but we have a nice uh, array of topics up on the up.
Honestly, even with 7, 8 episodes that we did in season 1, hitting almost 20,000 viewers in the first month and a half, 2 months.
That's good. That's
That's fucking awesome.
that's a
And
lot better than I
regardless of
thought we do.
it was going to be you guys or not, I want to say this across all shows. I said it on my other show as well. Thank you. This year I hit 1.4 million views in a year. Like regardless of
Wow.
what happens at all, like this is not what I expected. So regardless of what happens next, it's cool. So thank you, regardless of how much of a part you guys were a part of that. That feels fantastic. So
That's awesome.
it,
Zach, congratulations.
yeah, yeah, it's been a cool year. Even
Yeah,
even as hard as life has been this year, it's still I can't say that it's uniquely just a horrible fucking year, which is insane to me. So
yeah, and to me, it's not even about the views, or the clicks. It's about how I impact somebody.
yeah,
I don't even care. Like even on my TikTok, I don't care about likes. I don't care about the amount of views it gets, except for the fact that it may reach. With the more
yeah,
views, it may reach the person that it needs to reach.
yeah. No, it was always weird to me when it would hit like, oh, this is 10,000 views. Now I'm getting around to the size of my hometown. Oh, this is 100,000 views. That's this region, and that to me, probably autism level or ADHD level, but it's always just like interesting to like compare it to something like you're impacting or you're being seen by this many people, and that's just it touches you in a way you don't really realize.
For sure, it's crazy to think about. It really is.
Yeah,
And you look at
it's
you look
been
at each individual, video, and you don't really think it's doing that much, but you look at it compiled with all the shorts and everything else that's going out,
exactly
and it really does add up.
when you're pushing like 20K a week or 25K a week just between shorts and a long form video, it feels fucking weird. It just does. Like everybody's like, "Oh, you can do this." Good luck.
And to me, it just satisfies the creativity out of me.
Yeah.
I mean, it like I just kind of tweaked my own news ish page, and it was interesting to me because I'm not doing it to satisfy other people. I'm doing it to satisfy me. It's like my personal diary. It's where I put my creative outlets on that page. So if people,
And that's
catch on, they catch on.
That's exactly why I end the other show with a story from my life or something crazy that's happened or something like that because at some point, my kids are gonna want, those stories.
Yeah.
There might be a day where I can't talk. There might be a day where I fucking become incapacitated and not be able to do anything. And having that backlog or having availability to tell them stories without being able to tell them right in that second might be huge for them. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, it's
But to
interesting.
me, that
If
that could be insane.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great time capsule, if you will. And I find that with most of my main news content on TikTok, with what's coming up with TikTok or evident with TikTok right now, I needed to switch it to a different place because all
Yeah,
my videos are gonna go away if I don't. So I got to figure that out.
exactly. And it's been really weird. You know, Within a month, Facebook has now started growing. After Facebook was originally going to back our MTS and they offered like $5,000 in order to start up the show. And then they looked at the URL and they're like, it has a bad word in the title. We can't back this. Now all of a sudden, monetized on Facebook. I have no idea how the fuck this works. If you're telling me you couldn't do it at the beginning, but now all of a sudden, it's like I don't understand. But we're here now.
Facebook's funny because they one day will do something and stand for something, and then the whole next day it'll be like a 360 or a whole 180.
Yeah, when
It'll
you
be
have meetings
ridiculous.
with, actual people at Facebook, and then, they're like, "Nah, it has bad words in it." And then all of a sudden they're like, "Monetized." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever."
Okay. Well, congratulations on that too.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a fun little bit. Even with, dealing with life and kind of just trying to be consistent and calm. It's been an interesting time.
Yes, it has. Yes. Yes, it has.
And it is triggering my ADHD through the fucking roof because every day it's something fucking new.
Well, let me tell you that, the anxiety of the holidays with me, it was really interesting to get through the holidays because, this year or last year, 2024 was really, pivotal for me in my journey of, getting through and through most of this grief and kind of compartmentalizing each piece and going through it. And it was interesting that I was able to get through the holidays without much incident. There were a couple, uh, not days, there were even a couple partial, couple hours at a time where I was felt affected or felt overly angry. But for the most part, I was able to push through it and, form new traditions and take the old ones and amplify them. It helped. I don't know what it was, but something turned for me this year. It was kind of nice.
Yeah, I had a really weird realization when we were putting up the Christmas tree. And I wasn't really sure if I was going to talk about this at all or here or nowhere or what. But we were putting up the Christmas tree with all the kids and I didn't go through all the ornaments and stuff after my divorce got put through and everything else and you see all the family ornaments and everything else and the baby picks up a picture of all of us and she's like, "Look, there's me and there's mommy and why is daddy there?" And it was just. And then my oldest and my son were like, "This doesn't go on the tree anymore." And the baby's like, "Yeah, oh, this goes on the tree." And I'm like, I don't, what do I do?
Right. That's
What do I
tough.
do?
That's really tough.
And like my girlfriend handled it so fucking, she handled it better than I did. I went into the other room and I took 5 minutes for myself because I was like, I have a baby who doesn't understand and never saw the family together. I have two kids that are like, no, this is not happening anymore. I'm gonna be happy. And it's just like, fuck. How do I answer this at all? How do you draw the line and just be like, what is the answer? And I told my mom, I was like, I don't know what the fuck the answer is. But I feel not only guilt, but I don't know how to fix it. And she's like, well, you have to do the right thing. It's like, what the fuck is the right thing? What the fuck is the right thing? It's like, this grief, this viability of whatever that was before obviously is gone, but that doesn't change everybody or how everybody's impacted.
Right. And her feelings are just as valid as important as the other two children and yours.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was interesting to navigate. So did you end
It
up
was damn near
keeping it on the
impossible.
tree or did
No,
not? And
I didn't, and I looked at Brie and I was like, "Hey, this is me showing you respect." Because she has to see that it's okay on both sides, not just
what'd
I
you do with
told her,
the
I was like,
ornament?
I put it back with the other ones that we didn't put on the tree. Like, I can't throw it out. That's not the right answer. I
Well,
can't
no.
do anything. It's just like it's frozen now, like, there's nothing, but yeah,
Yeah, and also, with her reaction, she may want that ornament in the future.
yeah,
One of the kids may want that, and that's for you to keep as a momentum for them because at the end of the day, they may be having whatever trials and tribulations that they're having individually and collectively. But at the end of the day, when all's said and done and things boil down and they grow and they heal, they may want that momentum. Um, you
exactly.
know,
And and especially with Ava, there's so few family things or anything that she will ever realize or, like, have those things that include her, that it's hard to, like, put those pieces together.
yeah.
Obviously, the timeline of everything obviously is so much more complex than what anybody really can know right at this second, but it
Well,
was
yeah.
hard. It was hard because it's like, "Okay, so how do I do this?"
Right, you have to get your wits together because you weren't ready to see that. You didn't realize it was in there or remember that it was in there, and so you got hit with it too. And instead of speaking out of your emotion, I think it was awesome that you were able to, hey, babe, I need a second. Um, take five
Yeah,
minutes and go over the scenario in your head. To not, take Ava's feelings out of consideration. And the other two obviously are at a different point right now with that situation than Ava. And, because Ava's too young and hasn't been weathered as much in it.
yeah, honestly, I looked at Brie and I was like, I know that I have to do this to respect you, and you give me a lot of leeway and a lot of respect with a lot of things.
She's a champ.
So I was like, "I know I have to do this, but I need you to understand that this feels odd." Like, and I'm trying to figure it out and put the pieces together, and I'm not 100% yet. And she's like,
Right.
"No, I completely understand."
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
that you're not alone with the holidays being rough because goddamn, it was fucking rough.
No, no, I bet, especially fresh off your wound,
Yeah,
it's difficult the first year after anything. Any major trauma. Never mind me 13 years after the fact.
15.
Um, Still trying to navigate uh how to move forward, you know.
Yeah.
Now that I'm done running from my bullshit.
It's weird when it finally hits you in the face because you don't like realize what's going on until it genuinely does.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have. I mean, you could be told a million times something, but
You could
unless
even be handling it like in your day to day bullshit, but like unless something from somebody else hits you, it really just
it's got to
you
make an
kinda get
impact,
used to it.
you have
Yeah.
to. In my case, I have to feel it. I
Yeah.
I could have been told a trillion times something by my mother, but until I felt that, I wasn't gonna. And I wish I would. I wish I would. I wish human nature was to listen and to act accordingly but it's not. Me particularly, I tend to think that I know better. And that's something that I'm able to now look within and say, yeah, maybe I might not know better, you know.
Yeah.
And in most times I don't, because I'm not the adultiest adult in the
Who the fuck
adult
is?
world.
Who the fuck is? I fail at this shit every day. I promise you that there is not a single fucking day that I don't go past with something fucking failing. Me sitting on my ass for 20 minutes longer than I probably should. It's just one of those things. Life is life, and at some point you kinda gotta just, resonate with the things that you have, because that's about all you got.
Yeah, yeah, you kind of got to focus in on what's in front of you, and not let the trivial things or the labels in life define you. You have to be able to live your life day to day and focus on what's in front of you in order to get ahead in your life and not be distracted by that which they would like everybody to be distracted by.
And honestly, I thought that that shit was so hard. Like when I was diagnosed with ADHD, it was a relief to me because like I remember when I was little and they were looking at Bella, my little sister, for ADHD and everything else. And my mom was like, even if she's diagnosed, I wouldn't treat her. I wouldn't give her medication to change this. This is her.
Mhm.
So like I went through about 25, I started realizing that, my caffeine consumption is the
Mhm.
only way that I can get through the day. And when I tell you this number of milligrams of caffeine that I consumed on a daily basis, everybody's going to tell me I'm lying
I
because
believe it because I've watched what you consumed.
I was over a thousand milligrams of caffeine on a daily basis.
No wonder why ADHD was bouncing off. Of course.
Yeah. I was, crushing crazy amounts of energy drinks or G Fuel at the time or whatever pre-workout I found on the shelf. It was like, okay, this is cheap enough. This is 30 servings. Guess what? This is 15 days. That's what that is. It was 600 milligrams of caffeine at a time, having one or two caffeine pills before I went to work just to feel like I was okay enough to put my mind together to do something that was just menial bullshit.
Yeah.
And when that diagnosis came, I was like, oh, holy shit. So what you're saying is, this isn't normal. It's not normal to be able to consume all of that. There'd be no heart problems or anything like that. I remember going in for appointments for my neck and they would take my blood pressure. They'd be like, how much caffeine did you have today? I was like, 600 milligrams so far. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. Why is your heart rate low? I don't know. They're like, you are the healthiest person we see here every day. And I'm like, I don't understand where you're coming from. I genuinely don't. They're like, obviously it helps you in some way.
Yeah. No, it's the same thing like when you have an issue, or you don't have an issue and you're taking medication like for instance, Ritalin. Some people take it because they need to calm down because they have the ADHD issue, and other people take it because they need to ramp up and not sleep and all that other stuff because they don't have the problem and they're taking it for another reason. So sometimes I feel like, whatever it could counteract, you like you and the caffeine, the ADHD is going to counteract that caffeine.
I remember the craziest thing when I would go to my actual sperm donor father's house. He would buy me 6 2-liter bottles of soda for 2 nights. And when I would get ready to go to sleep at 9 o'clock at night, he would say, okay, drink this and hand me a 2-liter bottle of soda. And I would just be allowed to go to sleep whenever I was, ready enough to go to sleep. You drink as much of it as you want. It was $1 to go to sleep. It's not that bad. But now realizing that as a parent, it's like, fuck, man. It's a lot of fucking sugar. It's a lot
That's
of
crazy.
caffeine to go to sleep at 9 o'clock at night. I'm 9 years old. Here's a 2-liter. Go to sleep.
That's crazy. No.
But like it's weird looking back, like all the little things that I'm like, oh, well, that would have changed so much.
Yeah, I find that a lot of people, I mean, it could go both ways and also be encompassed. Like, you get a diagnosis and you can go one of two ways, or like I said, a combination of an angle with it, but you can feel relieved because you now know what's going on and you can do
Yeah.
things to combat that. On the other hand, some diagnoses are give people grief. They have to get
Oh,
over
I
that first level of grief in order to get through to the answer and what will help them moving forward.
I helped 2 people with some of the hardest fucking diagnoses I've ever seen people with. And like I fought against some of my own and I know they're not right. But I
Mhm.
helped 2 people answer the same exact diagnosis for both of them. They're both relatively different people, which is the funny part. It's like you watch somebody be diagnosed with something and it hits them on the chin of like, oh my God, I'm fucking depressed because they say I'm this.
Mhm.
And it's just like those letters don't matter. They don't fucking matter. I remember being diagnosed with complex PTSD and being told, hey, this will never change. You cannot change this. You can change how much it affects you, but you can never, you will have nightmares for the rest of your life. You will have panic attacks for the rest of your life. It will not change. And it's just like, okay, do you know how much baggage people put in those fucking letters? And the fact that I didn't get them from wearing camo?
No, no, there's a lot of baggage that come with diagnoses because diagnoses come from some level of trauma, and that's where you're gonna have, you can get like I when I was in my early 20s and I went out to Salt Lake, it threw me for a loop. I not only became homes if I would have followed the signs, I would have come right back because it was my whole body and everything in me was telling me that that's not where I was meant to be. That's not where I was supposed to be. But I did it and I made it, and it the experience made in a lot of ways made me who I am today. Um, but it was something that if I would listen to my internal compass, I would have turned around and come back. But that being said, that was when I went out there was when I went to the doctor to figure out, because it was grief. Looking back at it, it was absolute grief. And I didn't understand it at the time. I was moving on with my life and I was moving forward, and I thought that was the right thing to do. Um, but when I got the diagnosis, and I got the prescriptions for medication, I got on the phone with my mom and I was like, I mean, do I continue to cry day in and day out at the drop of a dime over anything? Or do I try to take these medications and see if it'll help me through? It was a really big decision because I wasn't raised on any kind of medication or any kind of
Yeah.
diagnoses or anything like that. I went to counseling once when I was a kid, and it was a family issue that happened when I was, maybe 12, 13 years old. I don't even remember. But it was something that my mom wanted me to go to counseling for and make sure that everything was okay, and I did, and it got buttoned up real quick. But the me I let the the medication define me for quite a bit,
Mm.
until I shook myself free, of the medication, and it was too long, way too long.
And I don't know if this is a normal occurrence or not. So when I went through and I was diagnosed with everything, and I finally went to the therapist and a psychiatrist and stuff like that. Um, they diagnosed me with ADHD, suicidal ideation, and complex PTSD. And they gave me medication for my suicidal ideation and ADHD, which was an SSRI. And I don't condone anybody doing this. I took it for a week, and all of my emotions was gone, just all of them. Like, there was no happiness, there was no anger. I was going through a divorce and everything fucking crashing, and for some reason, I couldn't feel anything, not even sadness. It just felt like life didn't exist. So I took myself off the medication. I'm like, I'm not fucking taking this. This is useless to me. This Zoloft that is in this bottle literally made me feel like the worst person I could ever possibly be. As I said, don't I don't tell anybody to do that. I would not do that for anybody else that I care about. Then I got on with my psychologist or whatever the med person is, and I'm like, I'm not taking that anymore. Don't send the script. I'm not fucking taking it. And she's like, "What the fuck are you doing? Blah 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 blah. You're supposed to be taking this." I was like, "Yeah, and I also want emotions." My job is living off of emotion and kind of being entertaining and kind of wearing my heart on my sleeve and being able to show people how to handle things and do things and everything else. If I'm not feeling anything, nobody cares. So she's like, "Oh, you're bipolar." I'm not fucking bipolar. I don't know where the fuck you got that from. So I fired her.
Yeah, it goes back to my distrust of the medical profession and psychology in particular. You know, there was a situation a few years ago where, you know, I mean, my wife went to a counselor, and she was trying to get through some things in her life. And one of the things she was trying to get through was a codependency that she had with her children. And they were growing up and moving out, and she was having a hard time with it. And so
Mhm.
she, you know, got with this counselor, and they were talking for a little while. Well, this counselor at the end of the day had convinced her that she needed to leave her marriage and be completely alone for at least a year or two, so that she could get through and over her, yeah, I mean, completely wanted her to blow her whole entire world up instead of figuring out how to, you know, set up the boundaries and work through them. And it just threw me for a loop and made me distrust, you know. So along the lines of what you said, you know, when I was going through it in my 20s, that's what it did for me. It numbed me out so that I could get through the day without crying all the time. Um, but what it really was doing was masking or dampening my raw emotions, which were telling me what I needed to do, but I needed something to shut it up so that I could do what I wanted to do. And it
And it
just
seems
it
like nowadays when everybody's learning therapy words or all of this shit, everybody is so quick to just assume that a therapist or somebody tells you to break off a relationship or do this or do that, that you're supposed to fucking listen to them.
they're not
No.
supposed to tell you what to do. They're supposed to be there to bounce things off of and give you the options in life and how you're supposed to think through things. They're not supposed to do that kind of thing. They're not
And
supposed
it's
to put.
like, and I don't know if this is just, the big manly version of me that sees this shit all the fucking time, but it's not a very unique story to hear. Oh, you know, my girlfriend went to therapy and now all of a sudden she's single and now cuts her hair all off and everything else and makes these drastic changes to her life because she finally saw a therapist. It's like, guys, that's not what therapy is supposed to be. Therapy is not dictating and changing everything that you're doing right now because there are positive things that you do every day, regardless of what you made it through 100% of the days that you already made it through. You are still fucking here because you're the person you are. If you're working through something, that doesn't mean change who the fuck you are. That means figure out what the fuck the problem was, figure out if you are the cause of the problem, and fix the fucking problem.
No, if you're not
You
the
don't have
cause of
to
the
change
problem.
and dictate life.
No, but yeah,
Have
some
life.
changes may be necessary. If you're not the cause of the problem, you may need to change some of your surroundings, some maybe the people that you are, some of the people that you're associating with, or maybe some of the places that you're going that are bringing out those bad habits. But you as a whole does not need to change, and your intuition is specifically for you, and it's telling you what you need to hear. There's just ways that you need to learn how to hear those things. Now, I'm not saying medication isn't a necessity, because a lot of medication is a necessity for a lot of people. For me, I needed to take myself off of it so that I could continue to go through. I was on it for a good 20, 25 years, but I needed to take myself off it so that I could get through what I was what I'm going through, so that I could
Hey, you
grow, so that
can't
I could turn the corner.
you can't numb yourself to the world to fix something.
No,
You can't.
and that was the illusion that I was under.
Honestly, it might be weird. My therapist visits, my therapy appointments that I have every single week, and I go to them and I have not missed one other than for appointments for when we were pregnant or things like that are not my thing. I have not missed one in 3 years. You wanna know what those therapy appointments are? How are you doing today? Is everything okay? How's work? How's your neck doing? And everything else. You wanna know what we haven't talked about? Any of my past child abuse. Any of it. Because making sure it stays in the fucking rear view mirror means I can keep looking at the windshield and keep going. If you sit here and cycle on everything that you dealt with for your entire life, that trauma that you're trying to get past and get through is never going to fucking leave you.
No, you're
It's
right.
just going to
It's
stay right next to you.
absolutely. It's true that you need to sit with it, in order to get through it. But as far as continuing to traumatize yourself with it over and over and
Mhm.
over and over and over. And, that's what I was doing on the anniversary of my mother's death every single year, as I was continuing to re-traumatize myself with the event, and the situations leading up to the event. It was crazy. It was crazy. I had
And
to
it's
get out of the
depressing.
situation. Yeah, I had to get out of the cycle. It's a cycle.
And it's so hard now when so many letters, whether it's ADHD, autism, depression, bipolar, even
Anxiety.
borderline, as it's getting bigger, are now becoming like fucking participation ribbons in life. And you're like, I have all these things wrong with me, and it's just like, dude, if you label yourself as just a group of fucking letters, you're not you anymore.
Oh, yeah, it's true. It's true. And then there's the rampant undiagnosed self-diagnosis of all the letters and phobias and whatever it is. Well,
Yeah,
all the diseases. You don't even see a doctor. You're not even going to a counselor, and you're telling me that you have XYZ. And your lip. I mean, you may be educated, you may have read stuff, but you're not diagnosed. And there's a lot of people that are using, um, and I just find in the participation trophy society that we're in, it's almost like a participation trophy to have these things.
it
To
is.
have an
It is.
autism ribbon and to have an ADHD ribbon and to have a
You go on Twitter, you go on Tinder, you go anywhere, fucking anywhere.
subreddits. Yeah.
It's no longer your fucking name. It's I have ADHD, I have autism, I have
Yep.
fucking anxiety, and I'm bipolar too. It's like,
And
bitch, you're unwanted then. Not trying to be mean, but like don't lead with that. Don't lead with that at all. Like you are a person. If you
yeah,
just want to be a diagnosis, then why are you a human then?
these are
Because
just
that's what you're
names.
doing.
These are
You're
just
just taking
names.
your humanity, your experience
Yep.
from your everyday life away from you. Those things change how you see the world, not what the fuck you are.
Exactly. It's not you, it's how you see the world. And that's just a name for how you see the world. And that's just a name for overactivity, or it's just a name for how you go from one subject to another subject, or it's just a name for that you're crying every day and you don't really know why, or it's a name for a heightened, heart rate and anxiety level. It's just a name, but it's not you. And you can take those things and use them as stepping stones to make you a better person, but don't define yourself with them. They should not be
The
in your biography.
the one that drives me the most insane actually is an anxiety. It's social anxiety. And and it's so fucking frustrating. Yes, I understand I have a microphone in front of my face, but you want to know what? Every single chance I get, I make my kids go into uncomfortable situations of talking to people and being a person.
Yep.
You want to know why you have social anxiety? Because you won't put this down and talk to the person that's in front of you. That's
Mhm.
why. That's the biggest fucking difference.
Yeah.
You want to know why you feel uncomfortable going into a boardroom meeting and having a conversation? It's because you're not fucking working the skill. It's you are losing a skill.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
it's not a fear. It's not a I don't want to do this. It is either you are too lazy to fix the skill or you do not want to do the skill. So then your skill gets worse and you get afraid of failing because your skill is not tested.
True again, that is based in fear. And that being said, there's nothing that you can do with the fear if you remain swimming in that sea of fear. You need to do that thing that you're afraid of in order to get through that thing. And you're right. The cell phones are huge in, all they do is communicate through the cell phone. They don't look at people in the eye, or they're not, having the conversation or ordering dinner when they go to a restaurant, or doing the uncomfortable thing because the parents are doing it for them. They don't want their kids to be uncomfortable like they were made to be uncomfortable. So they're going the whole other end of the spectrum and doing
I
everything for them.
I actually have a fucking story about this and I love this fucking story and I'm so happy I did it. And watching my kids' faces light up at the end was literally the payoff to the entire fucking thing.
Go.
We went to the monster trucks and we're fucking everybody's loving it. Ava even is actually sitting there for half the fucking time without like just bouncing off the walls. She's actually enjoying it for a bit. She's asked
That's great.
numerous times since to fucking go again. And the night wraps up and we're getting a souvenir for each one of them. And Nick looks at me. He's like, Dad, can I get this signed? Can you go get it signed for me? I'm like, no. Maddie looks at me. Hey, can I get this? Can you go get this signed for me? I said, no. I said, you're going to sit here with me and we're going to wait and we're going to get it signed. They said, really? Like, yes. It starts raining. And they're like, Dad, are we still getting this stuff signed? Yes, we're fucking getting it signed. You asked to get it signed. We're going to get it signed. It doesn't matter if it's fucking raining. We're still doing this.
Dance in the rain, baby.
So they ended up moving where they were signing everything because it was raining and stuff like that. So we're standing there. We're last in fucking line. Because you know that happens. They moved it all the way down underneath the bleachers and everything else. So we're last. We're waiting to get this shit signed. And Maddie got a specific hat from one of the drivers or whatever. She liked the colors and she was like, I want that one. Instead of just getting it signed by that specific driver, she gets it signed by everybody. And because Nick was last in line, he got his flag signed by every single person and then got to take pictures with the person who won and was handed a fucking flag that was on the truck because he was the last person that was there.
That's awesome.
I looked at
What
them
an
and said,
experience.
this is why it's not Dad, go do it. This is why it's let's go do this.
You need the
This
experience.
is how you do this.
This is how you get experiences in life. Yes.
We walk out and Nick threw me for a loop. He looked at Maddie and said, Maddie, the only place that we could ever do this is with Dad. If this was 4 years ago, Maddie, we would be walking into getting screamed at for the next hour and a half. This doesn't happen anymore. And this is okay. And he wrapped his arms around his sister, gave her a hug, and they ran to the car.
There's a level of anxiety they know they don't have to deal with anymore. In certain situations, you know?
And, you know, when both of them want to do YouTube, both of them want to create content, both of them, Nick is creating content, and it's so cool to watch, like the like bubbly personality that he has, very, very
It
similar to mine.
does. It's so
cool.
different. Yeah.
And it's just like you watch them kind of just use the skills that you're kind of forcing them to learn. And it's just like you're knocking it out of the park. I'm so proud of you.
It's
And it's
full
just
circle.
it's so cool.
It's full circle. It's great to watch. It's amazing to watch. On a lower level, you know, you're sitting here and I have grandchildren, 2 and 3 years old. 3 of them. And you know, it's interesting because I would sit there and I would sing ABCs to them while they laid down for their nap every single day. Every single day since they were babies. They couldn't, you know, sing back or anything, just every day. Nobody sings with me. Everybody just goes to sleep and grandma sings ABCs. Well, it was right before Christmas or whatever. They're in the living room and they are, you know, playing. It was the 2 and 3-year-olds, like they're very, I mean, the 3-year-old's a little more advanced, obviously. There's a big difference between 2 and 3-year-olds, but the 2-year-olds, they do so much. They beat feet to keep up with their brother, the 3-year-old. And so it was interesting because we were all talking, the adults were talking and the kids were playing, and the next thing we know, we hear I'm not talking part of it. I'm talking, we hear the whole ABC song sang. They're singing it together all the way through, and they don't even skip elemental P. They just say it fast. Elemental P. Like
it's one letter. It's not 4.
It was amazingly astounding because it was like full circle to something that I taught this little soul, you know, and it was just amazing on that small and large of a level just to experience that. It's
I've shared a little bit of that stuff with
awesome.
you guys. Ava has gotten to be such a little spunky shithead. I love that kid so fucking much. And anytime I play certain songs, she will just start singing them. like I used to when I was little, and it's just the cutest fucking thing in the world. And so I have I watch wrestling. So one of my favorite songs for like the past year and a half, 2 years has been Kingdom. I don't even remember who it's by. It's Cody Rhodes' entrance theme song. And it's essentially like, dealing with the social anxiety of doing something beforehand. This is my kingdom. And Ava has started to sing the entire first verse of it, except sometimes she decides that it's Maddie Rose instead of Cody Rhodes. And that's fucking adorable to me. It just is
That's
because she's
awesome.
like being a smart ass to be like yelling this fucking song. And then she'll be like, Daddy, can we watch Cody Rhodes? And she'll watch wrestling with me and think that it's all Cody Rhodes because that's what the song says. And it's so cute. That personality that kid has is like, it just lights up a room and it's so cool.
Their personalities are so amazing, and it's so important for us to take these things that we're learning, how to manage our emotions and how not to allow letters or diagnoses to define you as a human being or even be in your biography, to just use it as a stepping stone to make yourself better, to make yourself more appropriate, to make yourself more meaningful to the world. But it's up to us to pay that forward, to make it so that we don't have to they don't have to do the research and the work. I mean, they're going to have to work. Obviously, everybody has to work to be good or great at anything. But like, our parents didn't teach us these soft skills because they weren't taught these soft skills. And for those of us that are learning them and making our life better and turning it around, taking that to the next generation is of utmost importance.
I remember the conversation I had with Maddie before her appointment when she got diagnosed with ADHD and autism. And I looked at her and said, I don't care. I don't care what the answer is after this appointment. I don't care the answer is of how we move forward after this. I've got your back. It doesn't matter what they think this is or that is, or how we fix this, or how we make you into a more sharp, more perfected like version of you. It does not matter. I've got your back, and it nothing changes from here. Us having the answer of what is going on and how we can help you is the part that matters. Can they be right? Absolutely. Can they be wrong? Absolutely. And it doesn't fucking matter.
It's
But
all going to
if
be
we have an
okay.
answer of how to fix it, it's going to be okay because we're going to get it together.
Yeah, that's right. That's the point of being the family. The family sticking together rather than being pitted against each other. It's very important to make that, and you are with your kids, making that known that you're a steady and a constant that they can count on, not having to be anxious around or having to worry about what's going to happen next or reading the room. They don't have to worry about that because you take the time, like when you took that ornament out of the box, you take the time to get your own feelings under control, take those chords that have been strung and let them rest for 5 minutes before you go and deal with your child with it instead of dealing out of pure emotion. That's a lesson for everybody, specifically me, thank you, Godson, to learn, uh, you know, absolutely is invaluable.
And not to stroke my own ego, but honestly, like I have autism and ADHD. My answer is to impulse. It took me 30 years to learn how to give myself 5 minutes to be able to recenter myself. I don't expect anybody to know how to do that.
Well, no, but like you were telling me the other day, there's a default. And,
Yep.
sometimes it's a losing battle, but, right there is proof right there that it's not a losing battle. It is a choice. You just have to realize the trigger. And then when you realize the trigger, right before the trigger, take yourself away.
Well, what I was saying there is within me, there is never a I can choose in between being asshole Zach and perfect Zach. And I don't use perfect as like I'm a perfect person, but like the version of Zach I want to be.
Refine,
I
Zach.
either can I can either be the version of Zach I want to be and give everything the 5 minutes to rest and attack the situation in whatever way I need to, or I can be the impulse Zach and just react, which it's hard because sometimes that's needed. So there's no 50% either way. I either has to be completely impulse and I have to give it and hope that it's the right answer, or it has to be methodical, in depth, direct, breakdown, effective. You know what I'm saying? Just being the the turtle in the fucking rabbit race, but at the same time, guess what? I'm gonna win.
Well, yeah, but you know what
It's
works
just
for
hard
this.
trying to figure it out.
You know what works for what situation you're in. You
Yeah,
can't always
65% of the time.
you can't always turn
Sucks.
on asshole Zach. I can't always turn on
Nope,
asshole
nope.
KJ because it's not going to land where it needs to land. You can only turn on that asshole when you've exhausted, the methodical wait 5 minutes, figure it out, try to work through it. But at least me, I try to exhaust those efforts before I turn into asshole. And if I turn into asshole right off the jump, I always look inwards because I don't want to land that way anymore. I don't. It's not fun for me. But I mean, obviously, if you're not close to me and you're not in my family and you take a shot at me out of my element and out of my safe spot, all bets are off.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's been an interesting time teaching myself that in front of a camera. I've
Yeah,
said this on my show multiple times. It's like a lot of these shows have been some of the worst times of my life. Not the show itself, not this show, but like as a whole, having this camera in front of me holds me accountable in a way that most people will not understand.
that's exactly what I was going to say. It's a way to hold yourself accountable. You turn
It
around and you
forces me
listen.
to hold myself back together, even in times when I can't fucking put my mind together.
Yeah,
Bree told me, she's like, your bosses don't even know that you lost a baby the day before you had to go back to work, and you were back to work and on camera the next fucking day. You didn't give yourself time to rest, and you fucking did it, and you accomplished things that most people cannot. And guess what? They don't need to know that, but if they did, they would give you so much more respect than anybody ever really should ever have, because you deserve it, because you're doing the thing and you hold yourself accountable in ways most people cannot.
they know that in other ways, and the person that needs to know that, Bree,
Yeah,
knows that.
us.
Yep.
Exactly. So, guys, as always, I know it's a lonely road. I know it's a hard way to keep going, but some days you have to keep going. And God damn it, you're a beautiful person. Keep
Don't let
going.
the letters define you.